Now on KOAM News at 5, an area electric crew that helped restore power to the Gulf Coast returns home.
President Biden tours the devastation Hurricane Ida left behind in Louisiana. I'm Natalie Brand at the White House. The federal efforts to help the Gulf Coast and the northeastern states slammed by the storm.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Carthage Water and Electric Plant distribution crews return home today after a week spent helping those affected by Hurricane Ida. This is KOAM News at 5. The crews worked to restore the power grid along the Gulf Coast. They were joined in southwest Mississippi by volunteers from Independence, Nixa, Lebanon, and others. One volunteer says the experience made a lasting impression.
We were pretty dehydrated and tired, and I remember a lady and her 2 kids rode up on a 4-wheeler, and they just needed their power back on. So, we stayed and made sure that we got that back on. We were wanting to go home, but we stayed. That definitely made an impression on all of us.
Local crews were stationed throughout Mississippi and Louisiana. President Biden traveled to the Gulf Coast to meet with local leaders and survey the damage after Hurricane Ida slammed into the region earlier this week. The president and members of his administration have also been in contact with state and local officials in the Northeast, where remnants of the storm caused deaths, historic flooding, and wind damage. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
President Biden arrived in Louisiana Friday to get a first-hand look at the devastation left behind by Hurricane Ida. His first stop, Laplace.
There's nothing political about this. It's just simply about saving lives and getting people back up and running.
More than a dozen deaths are blamed on Hurricane Ida in the south, and as the storm turned into sweltering heat across the Gulf Coast, the region is experiencing food and fuel shortages. Many people are still without power, which means no air conditioning.
It's been a tremendously devastating storm. We're going to be a long time recovering.
To help speed recovery efforts, the Biden administration authorized the use of the country's emergency oil reserve to loan 1.5 million barrels of crude oil to a refinery in Louisiana to address disruptions.
The storm also hit the Northeast, worse than many expected. The death toll has risen to more than 45 people in the wake of record-breaking rain, flash flooding, and tornadoes from Maryland to Connecticut.
What we need, to me, is an immediate cash need. Now, the Red Cross and others.
Friday, the governors of Pennsylvania and New York surveyed the damage in their states.
I don't ever want to again see Niagara Falls rushing down the stairs in one of the New York City subways.
11 FEMA incident management assistance teams have been sent to help in several states slammed by Ida, from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The president has also approved federal disaster declarations for states hit hard by Hurricane Ida, including Louisiana, Mississippi, New York, and New Jersey. Ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, once one of the most powerful men in the Catholic Church, pleaded not guilty this morning to child sex abuse charges. He is accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy during a wedding reception in Massachusetts nearly 50 years ago. In 2019, McCarrick was defrocked by Pope Francis after the Vatican found credible evidence he abused minors and seminarians for decades. The Senate Judiciary Committee is planning to hold a hearing on the 6-week abortion ban in Texas. The controversial law took effect this week after the Supreme Court refused to block it. The hearing will examine the High Court's so-called shadow docket. It's the nickname for emergency actions that do not go through the full briefing and hearing process of a formal opinion. In addition to the Texas law, the court used shadow docket orders to throw out the Biden administration's eviction moratorium. A date and witnesses for the hearing have not been announced. Cloudy day today, but still pretty muggy. Nick Kelly joins us.
Yeah, and just like you said the other day, Chris, we saw highs push back into the lower 90s with some thunderstorms to start the day out. At least we're seeing a little break in the action now from our vantage point of 7th and Rangeline from the east side of Joplin. At the very least, we're getting a break in the rain chances. It's a temporary break, and not to mention a little break from the cloud cover in some spots as well. I say temporary because our frontal boundary is parked just to the north and west of the region. As long as that's around tonight through a good portion of the holiday weekend, we'll have some more rain chances on the way, but mid 80s to mid 90s all across the board. With the humidity, it feels like 100 in some spots, but ultimately we'll see the rain chances build back in after 9 or 10 o'clock tonight and ultimately send us back into the mid-70s. Thankfully, the entire weekend won't be a washout. We'll break down a good Labor Day forecast and we'll check the rest of the forecast as well here in a bit, Chris.
Thank you. Before we go to break, we do have a somber notice to share with you. Here's Dow Quick.
We have heartbreaking news today. Christian Heddy, the son of meteorologist Doug Heddy, has died. Christian's battle with cancer ended at home, where he was surrounded by family. Since Christian's cancer diagnosis more than a year ago, many of you who never personally met Christian came to feel a personal connection to him. Thousands who followed Christian's journey on social media saw him express the joys and hopes of a well-loved 12-year-old with humor and courage beyond his years. Over these months, countless numbers of you, both friends and strangers, have reached out to the family with encouragement, well wishes, and prayers. The family has always expressed gratitude for your kindness, and we know they feel it today. For those of you who would like to leave a personal message to the family, we've provided a link through our website, koamnewsnow.com. Again, Christian Heddy was 12 years old.
Topping today's Health Watch, a British study suggests there's an urgent need to identify, support, and treat healthcare workers for significant mental health issues brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Researchers estimated up to 58% of frontline health and social care workers in the UK suffered anxiety, depression, or PTSD after the first wave of the pandemic. Almost 5 million children have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since the pandemic began. Cases and hospitalizations are increasing significantly in kids as the Delta variant surges. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics is launching a new campaign encouraging parents to get eligible children protected. Anthony Pura reports.
The Alegrias are always on the go. With 14-year-old Greg and 13-year-old Liam in sports and other activities, the teens got the COVID vaccine the first day they were eligible.
My parents are in their 80s, and we wanted to spend time with them. My one son was going to camp for a month, and my other son was going on a backpacking trip, and they both wanted to be able to go do those things with confidence.
I want to get the vaccine. So life could be more normal, I guess.
Are we there yet? The American Academy of Pediatrics is launching a campaign urging parents to vaccinate their children and encouraging them to talk to their pediatrician about concerns.
In adolescents ages 12 and up, in the trials, it showed 100% efficacy. So I think parents should feel really reassured that the vaccine will help keep their children healthy. It'll help keep them well.
The Delta variant is spreading among the unvaccinated, including kids. Nearly 204,000 tested positive in 1 week, levels not seen since winter. Children now account for 22% of cases.
Children are less likely to get severe illness, but they can still get very, very ill. The risks of getting COVID are significantly greater than the risks of the vaccine.
To date, 9.3 million children are fully vaccinated, about 46% of 16 and 17-year-olds and 37% of 12 to 15-year-olds.
It doesn't hurt at all either.
My kids have been getting vaccines since they were babies. I put my faith in the doctors then, and I don't know why anyone wouldn't now.
This mom is grateful they're protected and doing their part to protect others. Anthony Pura, CBS News.
The vaccine is not available yet to children under 12 years old. Data on the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine in children from 5 to 11 is expected as soon as this month. Warmer weather may worsen a patient's COPD. European researchers analyzed data from 1,200 current and former smokers in the U.S. with the condition. Scientists concluded those exposed to hotter weather suffered exacerbated symptoms within 2 days of the rise in temperatures. That's a look at today's health news. A little later, we'll have a look at some of today's Little Balkans Days events in Pittsburgh.
And even though we're catching a little bit of a break with our rain chances, it's not quite done with us yet. We'll break down the rest of your holiday forecast next.
Shelter Insurance in D.C.
even though we had our fair bout of scattered rain and storms, especially to start the day out, there were still some spots that managed to heat things up as we go into the unofficial last Friday of the summer season. You can see how the numbers stacked up from Joplin Regional over the past 36 hours. Lows in the lower 70s yesterday, at least lower 90s yesterday. We've dropped to 73 so far this morning before we went back to about 91 degrees at Joplin Regional so far, the highest number we've seen on the Mercury today. But that is still despite the cloud cover that was quite prevalent throughout the day, and thunderstorms have just waited to the north and west the entire day yesterday. But once we got into this morning, some of you picked up on that rainfall, resulting in 0.3 of an inch on the average. But you can easily see our southeastern Kansas County has caught the brunt of the rainfall, which pushed over 1/2 inch, and maybe that's up to 2 inches of rainfall. That cluster of rain and storms that came in this morning, early this afternoon, is completely falling apart now. So this is a good thing to at least get our Friday evening started off on a dry note. And for anybody with football fever tonight, I see this staying dry at the start of the games tonight and up until we get to the final snap. But then the rain machine kicks back into gear. That's why we have these flash flood watches for all of southeast Kansas and north of I-44 in southwestern Missouri until Saturday evening, because our rain chances, when they do ramp back up, they could bring in quite a bit of a heavy rainfall for some. But right now we're okay in Joplin, 93 degrees. Feels like 101 though, with the dew point sitting at 72. If you were still underneath the clouds and whatever was left of the lingering showers, you're in mainly the mid to upper 80s, but many of us, especially along in I-44, south of it, sitting in the lower 90s, and not to mention the humidity making it feel like the triple digits in some spots. But a dry start to the evening, then after 9 or 10 o'clock, the rain builds back in as overnight lows drop back to 75. Why are we seeing the rain chances stick around? You can kind of see it already with the way the wind is set up at the surface on the storm tracker. A frontal boundary stalled out right on top of the region, along with some upper level energy riding along the jet as it tries to creep back into the region. That is going to set the rain machine back into gear, but we're okay again to start this evening out. Here's 7 o'clock, the first snap or the kickoff for many football games. And here's final snap at 9 o'clock. I think we can get through the games on a dry note before we see scattered rain and storms certainly develop on top of us, if not work in from the west, as lows drop back into the mid-70s overnight. Then just periods of showers and thunderstorms, and maybe some breaks in between to try and get temperatures back near 90 tomorrow. 75 in the morning, 86 by noon. Afternoon highs will top out around 90. Thankfully, these rain chances won't stick with us all weekend. Some showers and storms might linger in our southern counties Sunday morning, but we're looking pretty good as soon as we get into Sunday afternoon with highs in the lower 80s. We'll see how Labor Day is looking in a moment, but in terms of rain chances over the next day and a half to 2 days, some of you as little as 1/10 of an inch. Some spots could see rain pushing over 2 inches, and that's why those flash flood watches are out until Saturday evening. But after the system clears out, we're looking good for Labor Day. Low humidity, warm, but mostly sunny with highs near 87. Quick jump to 91 on Tuesday, but with lower humidity throughout much of next week, Chris, we're going to have lows near 60 and quick warm-ups each afternoon, but we'll keep highs in the 80s.
Not a bad forecast for the first week of September here. So
that's not looking bad at all. We'll certainly take it.
Nick, thank you so much. Well, this weekend is Labor Day weekend, as Nick mentioned, and as I'm sure you know. And in Pittsburgh, the big weekend for Little Balkans Days. KOAM's Zach Dodge joins us live from Pittsburgh with what residents can expect this weekend.
That's right, Chris. The Little Balkans Festival started around a week ago, but this weekend is the big unofficial kickoff to the festival. Tonight here at the Pittsburgh Farmers Market is the Food Truck Festival and Downtown Celebration. And starting right about now, or even like 18 minutes ago, is the first ever Drag the Gut car show in the parking lot of Meadowbrook Mall. And you better believe there's even more fun for the weekend as we move ahead.
All day today was a quilt show. It's tomorrow as well. Vendors in the park, weather permitting. And then we round out with a shuttle all day long. The farmers market has live music, a bocce tournament, a golf tournament. And then we have Crochet Plays Crochet and the J3 brand starting at 6:30. It's in Memorial. We moved this show because of the anticipated weather forecast.
The fun continues through Sunday night and ends with a concert by 80s cover band Members Only. You can get the full schedule on our website or on littlebalkansfestival.com. so be sure to come on out. It's sure to be a great time. Reporting live in Pittsburgh, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Zach, it does look like a lot of fun. Thank you. Well, coming up, a look at last month's jobs report from the Labor Department. But first, we honor a local veteran. Specialist Willard Cummins served in the Army with the 5th Infantry. His hometown, Walnut Shade, Missouri. And we're proud to recognize Specialist Willard Cummins, tonight's 4-state hero. Topping Consumer Watch today, an increase in COVID-19 infections appears to be having a major impact on new jobs. Wendy Gillette reports.
The U.S. job market that sizzled all summer is cooling down in a big way. The economy added just 235,000 jobs in August, way under Wall Street expectations, and much lower than the large job gains seen in July and June.
This is a big disappointment.
Bankrate senior economic analyst Mark Hamrick says rising COVID cases are likely playing a role. Hiring in many industries dropped last month as Americans ate out less and canceled trips.
People are dialing back as this pandemic continues to rage in new ways, and this is having an impact on the economy.
Despite the hiring slowdown, job openings are at a record high. The technology and finance industries need employees. Walmart and Amazon are also looking for tens of thousands of workers.
While I know some wanted to see a larger number today, and so did I, what we've seen this year is a continued growth.
The unemployment rate is now 5.2%, and many of those out-of-work Americans are losing a big monthly benefit.
How important have the benefits been for you?
Well, really important. I mean, for 3 months, I didn't have any income.
Pamela Mohar has only been able to find part-time work recently and was making ends meet with federal unemployment assistance, typically an extra $300 a week. But those payments are ending in the coming days for more than 7 million people.
And my partner and I sat down and we figured it out and we said, okay, this is the minimum that we need to pay our bills.
It's unclear where the job market goes from here. Experts say the economy will likely struggle if the pandemic worsens. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
In the latest weekly unemployment report released by the Labor Department yesterday, new jobless claims fell to 340,000 last week, a new pandemic low. The global chip shortage continues to hurt car makers. GM says it has to pause production at 8 North American plants over the next 2 weeks due to the problem. Ford says it has to stop making pickups at a Kansas City plant for the next 2 weeks and will slash production shifts at 2 other plants. The assembly reduction exacerbates the existing car supply shortage. Millennials are apparently in a rush to tie the knot. The company Signet, which owns Zales and the Piercing Pagoda, said ring sales more than doubled compared to last year, and they're up 31% from pre-pandemic levels in 2019. Signet estimates 2.3 million couples plan to get engaged this calendar year, up significantly compared to a pre-pandemic year. We've got a final check of your forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we'll have more on the area electric crews who returned home today after helping restore on a mission to store power grid along the Gulf Coast. Plus, an LGBTQ exhibit is removed from the museum inside the Missouri State Capitol after several complaints. And we'll have a preview of some of the area's biggest high school football games. Stay with us for CBS Evening News, KOAM News at 6. It was warm, it was muggy, but it was cloudy. I know some of us are hoping for a little rain here soon.
Yeah, we did have to deal with some rain this morning, Chris. We're just catching a temporary lull in the action, but as soon as we get the football games wrapped up tonight, we're going to see the rain chances ramp back up, even some thunderstorms too. During the overnight, off and on throughout the day Saturday, and trying to linger into Sunday morning at the latest. With these rain chances around, we'll keep highs around 90 tomorrow. Let's say 82 on Sunday. We say that because the front will finally sweep everything out Sunday morning and leave us with a pretty good rest of the holiday weekend. Highs around 87 and mostly sunny for Labor Day. And you can see how low humidity will send lows into lower 60s by the middle of next week and Highs right back into the 80s, so those numbers don't look bad.
Not quite technically fall, but it's going to feel like fall.
Yeah, thanks to that drop in the humidity on the way, I'll certainly take it.
Yeah, I think we all will. Nick, thank you so much. That's our time for now. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you at 6. Thanks for making us part of your night.